right, and at this time, we're going to open the floor for any questions for our lovely panelists. You back there, sir.
Could you discuss the need for and the advantages or disadvantages, challenges of sustainability for your organization? Like what's the, I think of you guys, Adrian and Karen both talked about what's going to happen when we retire. But not only the human capital aspect of your organizations, but the financial well-being long into the future, like this, as an example, setting up an endowment for your organizations, or long-term sustainability for the organization, both from a financial and a human perspective.
Loaded question. Who wants to take it first?
Chris. That's a great question for you.
Well, that's a very loaded question. I'm very interested in the prospect of setting up an endowment. We don't have that. Yet. We learn. One year, someone called and said they wanted to donate stock. And I was like, oh, okay, I don't know what to do about that. But I learned how to accept stock donations. And so there are so many ways that you can be flexible. But for us, because we don't get a government funding, we are always looking. I mean, our resale stores, I didn't even want to open a resale store. It's a lot of work. But we realized we have got to think about sustainability. So we've opened 4. We want to open another one. We're opening up a coffee shop in January, 100% of the proceeds. So we're looking for ways, if we're not going to be funded by state or government grants, then we need to figure out, you definitely have to come up with a plan. Because there's not enough, we write small grants and local grants and foundation grants, but there's not enough of those to be able to sustain what we're doing. And so we've just had to get creative and never say never. Never say, I'm never going to do blank. I told them, I said 13 years ago, I said, I'll do anything you want me to do, God, but I will not speak in front of groups of people. So please don't ever ask me to do that. And jokes on me for the last 13 years, but never say you're not going to open a resale store. Never say any of that stuff. But yeah, that's our financial sustainability. And then I'm still working on the people one. It's hard. It's hard. One of the things I've done this year, this is my biggest goal, and I've just completed, is we're writing operating guidelines for each one of our programs. And y'all, we're 13 years in, and we didn't have that. So if I get hit by a bus and, different things, there's certain things that we've worked really, really hard on that aren't in writing. And so we have developed operating guidelines for the whole thing so that if, we're wiped out, it can continue without having to reinvent the wheel, and it's painstaking.
Very good. Great question too, Joe. Anyone else? No? Okay, thank you.
Well, we'll take it kind of together. You got it. I think that's a really ongoing problem because we, too, are funded more the way the Dream Center is on local grants, individuals. 60% of our operating budget comes from individuals. That's a check for $25 or $100 or whatever. So I love that because it's a lot of people buying into the need to help other people in their community, but it's a hard thing to sustain. Demographically, it's hard to get younger people to buy into that model. So, I mean, that is a concern of mine, and I think I'm not going to speak for Adrian or for Chris, but we've been with our organizations for a while, maybe a lot longer, and you tend to become interchangeable with the organization. I mean, I find myself saying, this is Karen, Clemson Community Care, not even a last name, and Clemson Community Care is not my last name, but, I think it's just kind of interchangeable, and that's a real risk when, the human capital, and that is a concern. We're also looking at procedures because, and I say those same words some days. Like if I get hit by a bus, that's in the drawer, and things like that. So I think, and the smaller you are and the more dependent you are on one person, that's a really legitimate concern.
If you remember, you and I were in a meeting together with the food bank. And that's one thing they talked about, the contingent plan. What will happen? Where are you going to go? And I look at me now, everybody said, "What if you die tomorrow, what will happen at Little John?" I said, "I can't tell you that," because Little John was run by me for so many years, by myself. And I'm used to doing and not giving others an opportunity to share their talent. Not that I didn't trust them. It's just when you ask someone to do it and they be like hesitating, I got this myself, let me move on. But I have to learn to put things and people in place and have writing, and that's what we're working on now. Miss Amy have a journal she keeps. This is what she do. Passwords, we're doing that now and just trying to keep up. But it's hard. I'm not thinking about me leaving tomorrow or 5 years or 10 years. I'm going to be there forever. Yeah, right. But, we have to think about that. What about you?
It's everything you guys just all said. But we, just like you mentioned and Chris mentioned, our goal is to have our standard operating procedures done by January 1st, come hell or high water. And it is a painstaking, because you do have to have that. If someone ever is going to come in again, you've got to have that in place. So we have a program SOP and a operation SOP, and then the other thing about revenue streams, that's crucial, and everyone has a little bit of a different percentage. Ours is, it's 85% independent individual donors. And then we have some grants. We got a federal grant about 7 years ago, not against them. It's just not something we normally do. So we have the just the foundation grants, and then mostly individual donors. You can't keep that up forever. You just can't. You can't keep going back to the same donors. So we are working on that. Actually, Chris has been one of my person I look to in terms of that, and she gave me suggestions on the resale store, so that's what we did, and that's been a huge blessing. And now we're looking at opening another resale store for that, as well as foundation. We'd like to open a foundation, have an endowment, so that can keep going, and whatever you start, your legacy can keep going even when you're gone, because I ain't going to be here forever. So yeah.
I think we owe it to our organizations to have that too, because I think we've all worked too hard to, when we step aside, for it not to continue successfully.
Any more questions?
Do you all have board members, and if you do, how many do you have, and how do you recruit people to be on your boards?
And I'll just kick in on that too. How do you keep them motivated? You all seem to be founders / executive staff for organizations. If you have boards who need to be active, how do you, in addition to finding them, how do you keep them engaged and active?
So to your question, so ironically, my entire board is everyone who I graduated from high school with. So we all went to high school together from before high school, but essentially they kind of just came on as because I was doing everything I was doing by myself for the first 7 years. And then one of my high school friends, he was just kind of just around helping. And when I finally thought that it was good to kind of start to formulate and actually legitimize the organization, I was like, yo, y'all always around. We might as well just come together and just do this together. So ironically, everyone on the board, with the exception of our attorney, is pretty much everyone who I literally grew up with. And so I love that because they know the community that we serve. They know people. that I wouldn't know. We all kind of went away for a while and came back home and they decided to really just help me out with what I was doing. And so when it was time to actually legitimize the organization and get all the paperwork, as Ms. Adrian mentioned earlier, I just like, yo, y'all want to just join on. And so and then to Joe's question about how we keep them motivated, I think they just know the passion. They know the passion that I have. They understand the purpose, and I think that's the beauty of like actually having people who kind of grew up with you, who understand the community that you're trying to serve. They know what the needs are. There's a lot of things that don't need to be coached for the most part in terms of aside from actually doing the work that needs to be done and understand the business aspect of nonprofit. But in terms of keeping them motivated, they, like myself, understand the need and the service that we're trying to provide. And one of the things I like to say about For Love Community, we're very boutique, very small, and that's intentional, and I love it that way. We're not like Clemson Community Care or Little John. We can't really assess those immediate needs, but I do love the fact that because how we are structured, it will be difficult to even do that. But because of how small and boutique we are, we have the ability to kind of come together when necessary to be able to plan the events that we want to plan. And so because we kind of structure the way we are, that kind of also helps with the inspiration, because I'm not having to pull on them. Them working with me is not an everyday job. It's more so like, I have this idea, what do y'all think? And let's just kind of naturally plan meetings around, let's get this ready, let's get this started, let's get this going. And so that's kind of how we are structured in inspiration.
Yours is a little bit different, but you all went to school together, have common interests. But real quick, like, do they come with happy hearts, or do you have to say, y'all need to show up, and then maybe don't? Because there's a big difference.
Yeah, I think I hope they come with happy. I think they do come with happy hearts. We it's funny because we're in separate group chats. We always texting, so whenever it's time for business, we in that group chat, and then when we kind of having fun, we in another group chat. So we kind of, I feel like if they not happy, then I wouldn't get a response.
You don't have to feed them and get them there to do whatever y'all do.
No, I don't. They pretty much know what's going on, and they just want to tag along. So that's kind of how it happens. Yeah.
What about some of the rest of you?
Yeah, that was one of our growing pains. It's still one of my growing pains, just to be completely honest and transparent. 7 years in, so initially, everybody's like, you need a board, you need a board, you need a board. So that was the first thing I did. I went around and started asking people I trust, which was cool, but they were just saying yes because they didn't want to tell me no. And so, and I say that because, we talking about showing up with happy hearts. They were just showing up because of who I was, which is cool. It speaks to whatever I've been able to do in life. But when it comes to doing the work and being active, it's not there. So when we talk about, we're in the process of revamping it. And this go around, it's asking people to apply. So you're saying you want to be a part of this, and not just out the strength of me. And so finding people who are willing, and not just people you seek out, they can't tell you no. And understanding the value of people's time is one thing I learned through this whole process. You're asking these people to give to your time for free. And so being mindful of when you're scheduling meetings, how often you're scheduling meetings. Is it going to be virtual? Is it going to be in person? Just being mindful of the time and not just meeting just to meet. That was the biggest thing for us.
I would say to that, we have 14 board members, and we are very intentional about our meeting times. So we used to meet every month, and then our attendance wasn't great, okay? People are busy. We currently meet every other month, and we make it very impactful. We start on time, and we never go over. We start on time, we end on time. We never start late, we never end late. Because people are giving their time, they're coming out, and they need to know that it's going to be worth their time. Also, we have in our bylaws that we can make adjustments as far as like rolling off. I don't want somebody rolling off after 2 years. It took us 2 years, to get to understand the problem. So we can make adjustments if we want somebody to be on there longer. But the biggest thing is, I would say, we don't go recruit somebody because of their name or their title. We ask people to be on our board. Our board members are incredibly bought in, and we ask the people who show up as a volunteer, who've supported us and encouraged us and prayed for us over a period of time. Those are the people we ask to be on our board, and they're super engaged. I mean, we have a really good board, but it's because we got people that were already bought in. Not because they were the bank president or because which everybody told me I need to go get the bank president, but I didn't. I just got the person that kept coming and teaching a class every week and was a retired banker. That's the person I asked. And it's worked really well. I have a phenomenal board, and they lead me, and we do strategic planning, but we don't overmeet. Well, that's another thing. We started adding younger people. So we were all older, and so we've added.
They're volleyball, they're all going this way, and, they volunteer. We don't have any problem finding volunteers to pack our food. Davo sends the team, we got sororities.
Yeah.
But it's getting somebody to come every Monday night or one Monday a month. That doesn't sound like much.
Well, maybe it should be every other month. You'd have to kind of look at it and say, okay, do we really have something to talk about every month, or can it wait? That's what I had to do.
Yeah, that's what we need to do.
It really helped. Another thing we did, we want them to come in person, but it's every other month. Look, if you can't drive from Seneca, then you can join us via Zoom. So we have a couple of people who may jump on Zoom. That is okay. So when you make it more flexible for them, it'll really increase your participation, I feel like. We recently got a 25-year-old board member because it's a guy who started giving to us when he was in 11th grade, and he's given to us financially. His parents didn't even know he was giving to us online, but we asked him to be on our board recently. He's 25 years old, but it's because he's been bought in since he was in high school. I'm like, this is somebody I want on this board. And so don't get just old people. There's a lot of young, creative. Yeah, they bring a lot of knowledge, and
Okay. Any more questions on the floor? All hearts and minds are clear. I think that concludes our question and answer. Thank you guys so much for your time.